For the record, I, Janisha Aber, am interviewing my father. Can you please state your name, birth date, and address?
John Hebert, 8 July 1969, 517 Kimball Avenue, Alexandria, Louisiana, 71301.
What wars and branch of service have you served in?
The U.S. Army, Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom.
Okay, and what was your rank?
My rank was E9 Sergeant Major when I retired.
Okay, let's take a step back here. And where were you and were you drafted or enlisted?
I enlisted in the Army in 1988. I was in Franklin, Louisiana / Lafayette, Louisiana, because I was in college at the time when I enlisted.
And can you tell me a little about your family?
I come from a large family, 8 boys and girls, 6 boys, 2 girls. I'm the fifth child.
Okay, and why did you join?
I joined the military kind of a consensus with my spouse at the time. I joined the military and they'd finish college, and then I would finish college on the back end due to the military benefits at that time.
Okay, and why did you pick the service branch that you joined?
Well, I joined the Army because my grandfather was enlisted during World War II, so I picked the Army because of that.
Okay, and do you recall your first days in service?
Uh, yes, the first days in service, I remember it being the snow that was real prevalent at Fort Dix because my basic training was at Fort Dix, New Jersey. So me coming from Louisiana and not seeing any snow, that was real prevalent, and I'm kind of awestruck because of all the snow.
And what did it feel like?
It was kind of strict, kind of a culture shock in ways and the regiments and everything that you have.
And tell me about your boot camp experience.
Okay, that was a challenge in itself. Because one of the boot camp experiences is just the first day of boot camp, getting off the bus, dropping paperwork, and drill sergeants mispronouncing my name Hebert and getting smoked for me correcting them, saying it's Hebert drill sergeant, not Hebert. So, and pretty much that going forward was the tone. Every time I correct them, they'd smoke me. So, and smoking is just additional physical training or corrective action.
And do you remember any of your instructors?
I remember drill sergeant. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but Aguero, Arrolo. I remember him always pushing me and trying to instill more discipline in me, and always reminding me of one day I'm gonna be a good soldier. So one of the things was on graduation day he smoked me for 50 push-ups, and he said when you go to the next duty station you're gonna max your physical fitness test. And yeah, I did. I didn't know what he was doing at the time, but yes, I maxed my physical fitness test after that.
So he really ended up helping in the end.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
how did you get through it? What motivated you?
Motivated me just to complete it, just wanting that discipline, that camaraderie, and everything else. Once you join, you get that feeling of purpose. So that's what really motivated me to do that. Because prior to going to the military, it was pretty much just trying to live and everything else. But once you get that teamwork and that camaraderie, knowing that other people are depending on you, that's what really focuses you.
That sounds great. So now we're going to focus on Desert Storm. Where exactly did you go?
Okay, Desert Storm, we flew in from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to King Khalif Military City. We flew into King Khalif Military City, and from there we pushed out to an area called Log Base Charlie, which is basically a staging area and also an area where they put our evac hospital, the 86 evac. That's where we were stationed out of.
And once you arrived, what was it like?
Arriving back then, it was Patriot missiles and Scud missiles that were being shot down because of possible nuclear or biological attacks. So the first day flying into King Khalid Military City and landing, the alarm went off, incoming Scud, possible NBC attack. So I remember scrambling, digging underwear and socks and t-shirts out of my duffel bag to try to hurry up and get my pro mask and put my gas mask on and sit up here and try to protect myself off of a C-130 aircraft. So that was the scary part. As soon as you touching ground, you're realizing that you're in a war zone.
So, what was your job assignment there?
I was a medic then, stationed with the 86 evac out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay, and did you see any combat there?
Not so much combat, but we got a lot of Iraqi prisoners because there was a lot of tank battles, but a lot of them were POWs or EPWs, enemy prisoners of war, that we got, and we would do physical assessments, or if they were injured or any kind of way, we would still treat them as humanitarian at the hospital.
Okay. And were there any casualties in your unit?
No, there weren't any casualties in our unit.
And tell me about the most memorable experience there while using Desert Storm.
Well, one of them was we had a small child, arm blown off, amputee. Um, Landmines and everything are real prevalent in that part of the world. So, uh, arm blown off, and that was the first time dealing with a child or anything of small age that was damaged that much or sustained that much injury. So that really sticks out in my head about Desert Storm.
Did the child live?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And were you ever a prisoner of war?
No.
Okay.
Never.
I can definitely tell you were. Were you awarded any medals or citations there?
During Desert Storm, Desert Shield, we all got of course, Southwest Asian medal. We got the Liberation of Kuwait medal. We got National Defense, overseas ribbons, and I received an Army Commendation Medal. The real big thing about one of the awards was the Kuwaiti Award. So it goes. The Kuwaiti Award, I still have it here, but it was supposed to be made of gold, and the Kuwaiti government actually awarded it to us. So I've never had it assessed or anything, but of course that's the myth about the medal. So I have it at my job on my desk.
You can pass that down to me. Did you sustain any injuries?
No injuries. Not nothing combat related. Sprained an ankle and stuff walking around the compound doing various duties and stuff, but beyond that, no.
Okay. And now I want to talk about your experience in Iraq. Where exactly did you go?
In Iraq, we were stationed in Baghdad, which is the capital of Iraq. It's about double the size of our biggest city here, New Orleans. So it was very heavy populated. You can just imagine Mardi Gras in New Orleans to about the 10th power, that's Baghdad.
Wow. Do you remember exactly what it was like when you arrived in Baghdad?
Got to Baghdad, we got chinooked in, which is by helicopter, to our fob, which was in the center of Baghdad, and we could see the pinging and little white flashes coming towards the chinooks as we were flying in. And for some reason, we thought that was fireworks. When the soldiers said, "Oh, they're celebrating, we're coming in," and it wasn't. It was gunfire. So they were shooting at the helicopters as we were landing. So in the moment that they said that, the door gunner flipped his toggle to fire, and he was returning fire as we were receiving fire, all the way into the fob. And then once we got into the fob, it was pretty much get the blankety blank out. So it was a hot LZ, so we had to hurry up and get out of the bird, and he had to take back off because they were taking fire.
Did anyone get injured at that time?
No.
Okay. And what was your job assignment there?
I was the first sergeant in Iraq. So it's E8, pretty much company first sergeant. So pretty much from sustainment to, lack of a better term, we call it beans and bullets. Supplying everybody that's going out, making sure that they get everything that they need, from body armor to vehicles, and then sustaining operations, making sure they're going out on patrols, check their areas. Our mission then was the Iraqi police, so we trained the Iraqi police. We went out and we did training with them. We did detainee ops with them. We were also over the Iraqi elections, so all the ballots, since it was a unstable government, all the ballots had to be convoyed in. So you'd have a military police in the front, military police in the rear, and you'd have a little bird overhead following us as we were on a convoy to deliver the ballots, because it was that unstable, their democracy. So.
Wow. And while you were there during Desert Storm, were there any casualties in your unit?
Not in Iraq. I already said no casualties for Desert Storm. But in Iraq...
Iraq.
Okay. In Iraq, about 177 soldiers. We handed out about 80 combat action badges. So we sustained like maybe 3 or 4 injuries, a couple of leg injuries, a couple of guys had to be medevaced out. So 2 nights when I went out, I actually got hit 2 nights in a row, but we didn't sustain any severe injuries. But one guy had to be medevaced out because of an injury to his leg.
Can you go into more detail about the injuries you sustained?
No.
No. Want to skip that question?
Yes.
Okay. And were you ever a prisoner of war during the
No.
Iraq time? No. Okay.
No.
Also, any type of awards, medals that you received?
I got a Bronze Star for Iraq, Army Commendation Medal, Combat Action Badge, of course, and several other medals.
Okay. Well, that's a great background there on the war experience. Anything else you would like to state about the war experience with those two?
No, but just that the American fighting soldier is one of the best soldiers on earth.
Okay, I agree. Now let's just get back into how did you stay in touch with your family during that time?
If we're referencing Desert Storm or we're referencing Iraq, are we doing both?
We can do both, just in
Okay.
general. How
Yeah,
would you
'cause
normally communicate?
It's a large, big contrast. Desert Storm was in 1990. We waited in a line for about a half a mile to make a 5-minute phone call back home. Back then, we were still writing letters. Okay, we don't do that now, but yeah, I had to write letters. There's a tent set up with phones that you actually had to push the buttons and everything and pick up a receiver, and you'd have to talk for maybe 5 minutes to hang the phone up and walk back out in the desert in the sun. So that was totally different, and we actually wrote letters home. Didn't need a stamp, or you just give it and they'd still mail your stuff home. In Iraq, there was actually Wi-Fi and internet and email, so you could. The biggest thing back then was Skype. So a lot of people would Skype for a few minutes with the internet on the phone with their family members, or either they'd email, and the phone system was a whole lot better. So we actually had satellite phones that you could set up and use, or you can go to another place and you could talk. So buy calling cards and stuff like that. So
What was the food like?
once again, there's a storm. It was pretty bad. So you'd eat MREs. Our milk would sit out in the sun. There was no refrigerated milk. You could pick up milk and it'd be just hot as coffee, and you still drink it. So for Iraq I did the detainee mission in Cuba too. That was a big contrast too, because the detainee mission, we were with the Navy and they actually had midnight rats and everything else. So they had food around the clock on Cuba. But in Iraq, we had, it was about the same setup. You could eat almost any time of day. We had a chow hall centralized right there, and it was private catering, so the food was a whole lot better.
So in Iraq, you didn't have to eat just the MREs?
No.
And did you have plenty of supplies during those time periods?
Well, it depends on what type of supplies. If you're talking about food and everything like that, yeah.
The basic necessities?
Yeah, no, that was good to go. But if you're talking about sometimes there'd be a shortage of ammo, maybe 1 or 2 days to wait on resupply, but other than that, that was about it. It wasn't anything major.
Did you feel pressure or stress during those time periods?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was something special you did for good luck?
For good luck? Wow. Okay. But there's a storm and other conflicts. It's not really luck, but I get focused on mission. And my biggest focus is on mission, but focusing on completing the mission and getting home. So that my good luck charm, I guess, would be my focus. So yeah, other than that, that was about it. So there was no token, cross, anything like that. No. But my focus is probably my luck. So
how did people entertain themselves? How did you all stay entertained during that time?
Yeah, that's a big contrast too, because but Desert Storm, it was the first Nintendo Game Boy in black and white, and the only game was Tetris, and you had to put 8 AA batteries in it to play it for like 15 minutes. So you walk by 2 miles to the little tent to get your little AA batteries to play and play your Tetris, and then it go dead. So that's what it was for Desert Storm. But going forward in Cuba, because we did the detainee missions also, we were the first. I transitioned from medic to MP. So in Cuba, it was PlayStation. You know, they were just coming out in 2002. We did the detainee mission in 2001, 2002. So we had that going on. And then for when we went to Iraq, it was PlayStations again. Except now we have Wi Fi. So now you've got soldiers playing against soldiers. You go out the wire to actually face the enemy, and they come back in to play a game about shooting. So,
Let me guess. Call of Duty.
yeah, yeah. So that was unique.
So what did you do when you would go on leave?
I didn't go on leave. No. When I go on a mission or if I was deployed somewhere, I'd stay in country until the mission's complete. So I don't go home.
Okay.
Old adage, me and some of the other old Sergeant Majors say, no, we don't go home because ain't no guarantee we're gonna come back. So you get a taste of home, and you really don't want to go back to some of the conditions and some of the missions that we were running. So I was one of the other ones that we stay battle focused, you know, bring everybody home, complete the mission, and enjoy home once you get home.
That definitely makes sense. Some people do get homesick.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your traveling. Where all did you travel while you were in the service?
Wow. You want just the states, or you want it out of states, or you want it all? Okay. Fort Dix, New Jersey, Presidio, San Francisco, Fort Benjamin Harris. From there, Germany, Italy, Turkey, from Turkey, Haiti, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Campbell. After Haiti, wow. Back to Italy, Cuba, Iraq. Let's see. Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, back to Cuba. Okay. And there's other places, probably, Fort Leonard Wood, Fort Jackson, and I'm probably Fort Huachuca. And I probably forgot a whole bunch of them in between. But that's the ones I remember at least. So that's duty stations in the States and duty stations overseas. So
Sounds like a lot of traveling there.
yeah. The unique one with that is in Haiti. I did Operation Uphold Democracy. That was with the UN. We actually got tasked and got put under the UN, and we actually wore the baby blue berets and the baby blue caps with the UN symbol because we fell under the UN. And that was with the 47th Field Hospital out of Fort Sill. That's where me and your uncle were stationed together.
So you were actually in the UN at one time?
Yep. That's why one of the medals that I got is the UN medal and the NATO medal. So serving with the UN and NATO.
Okay. That's definitely interesting to hear. Mm-hmm. Can you recall any particular funny or unusual event?
One of the first funny ones was Desert Storm, Desert Shield. We were medics, and we were actually the blood bank and everything has to be refrigerated. So we were going to get ice because one of the machines that went down, there's myself and two other soldiers. They called us the 3 H's, Hebert, Hutchinson, and Ken Hernandez. So all of us were driving, and all we hear is this loud smash and glass come in the vehicle and everything else, and we thought we got shot at or sniper fire or whatever, but it wasn't. It was another vehicle passed by, and we hit mirrors. And both the mirrors shattered and through glass and the windows and everything else, and we were checking for bullet holes and everything else, and come to find out it was just bad driving.
That's funny.
Yeah, so.
Well, at least no one got hurt in the process.
Yeah. We thought sure we was under fire and it was hell on earth and everything else, and it was nothing but something crazy. So.
Bet y'all laughed that one off after the fact.
Yeah.
Relieved.
After we took the Pampers off, we were good to go.
Also, did you ever were you ever part of any pranks with others or anything like that during any of those times?
Yeah, there was a lot. I was a victim of a couple, but yeah. So, uh, in in Baghdad, I actually made 40. So all the soldiers knew it was my birthday coming up. So I walked outside to talk, and then I got a big piece of wood and sprayed on the wood. Lordy, Lordy, top is 40. So they call the first sergeant's top because you're top of the enlisted chain. So they put on there, Lordy, Lordy, top is 40, and everybody's passing by, and they sit up here and they put something over there. So I froze, and everybody was out there taking pictures while I'm standing up to this big old sign. So
Do you have any photographs from that time?
yes, about 1,000. Yeah. First Sergeant Greer, she gave me a terabyte with about 1,000 pictures of our tour and everything on it. She died a year and a half after we got back from cancer, but she gave me a hard drive with all our pictures from Iraq and everything on it.
Okay, sorry to hear that. Sorry for your
Mm-hmm.
loss. Can you just name some of the people that possibly will be in those photographs?
Sergeant Lucas, Sergeant Wallace, the whole unit, Van Dyke, Jackson, Greer, I forget her brother's name, but Carter, uh, Smith, Anthony Jackson, a whole plethora of them. Most of them I know. So
Well, it's just good to hear that you still know most of the people.
yeah, some of them work for me now.
So that's good. Y'all still kept
Yeah,
in touch over all these
yeah,
years.
yeah. I hired them, so they work on the police force with me.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, what did you think of your fellow soldiers and officers?
They were a good, outstanding group of individuals. Highly trained, highly motivated, well disciplined. Couldn't ask for a better group. So if I could get the same ones I went with, I'd go back today. So
And did you keep a personal diary during any of those time periods?
no, no. It's that part is unique. Enlisted soldiers usually never keep diaries. Officers usually do, but NCOs and stuff. I don't know if it's tradition or taboo or whatever. It's just enlisted soldiers don't never really retire and write books. They don't really retire and do memoirs or anything like that. You know, 'cause it's not like that.
Okay. Have you ever thought about doing that?
Sometimes, and then no.
So, let's just get into some of the things after service. Do you recall the day your service ended?
Yeah, 30 years, September 2018. So
Where were you?
at a class for the police. So even though I retired, I was still working. So I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, doing a defensive tactics research class, and retired. And everybody in the class knew that I was retiring. So yeah, I'm sorry, it wasn't in Little Rock. It was Fletsy. I was in Florida then. So I transitioned from the VA to ICE. So I worked for ICE for about 10 months before I transferred back to the VA. So I was in Glencoe, Georgia, Brunswick, Georgia, at Fletsy, at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center.
What made you retire?
30 years.
It was just time.
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't that I couldn't do it physically anymore or anything like that. It's just, yeah, it was 30 years. Yeah,
You done your
it's
duty.
time. Yeah. When you walk up to a soldier and ask them, what were you doing in 1990? And they say, I wasn't born yet. It's,
Time
yeah,
to get
yeah,
out.
it's time to go. Yeah, it's time to go.
And what did you do in the days and weeks after you retired?
I know it's still kind of a culture shock even now, because even retiring, people still refer to me as my rank. Like the other day, I went and got 2 tires put on my car, and even the guy, once he found out I was in the military, the whole time I was there, referred to me as Sergeant Major. So it's sometimes a culture shock, sometimes it's not. So
So I would ask, but you did just say you did go back to school. You were finishing up school around that time.
yeah, when I was in the police academy, I finished my master's. So hopefully here pretty soon I'll finish up my doctorate. Uh, if I get the funding ironed out. So, because a doctor is a very expensive endeavor. So, but hopefully, I finished up my master's in 2015. So, hopefully, here shortly, I'll sit up here and start on my doctorate. So, that's one of the life ambitions that I want to do before I retire is to get my doctorate. So, hmm
Okay. So just also here, was your education supported by the GI Bill?
yes, yes. The GI Bill, my regular Army benefits paid for my bachelor's, which cost me nothing, and my 9/11 for being on 3 tours, I didn't have to pay anything for my master's. So I did my classroom for my bachelor's, and I did my master's online.
Okay. So do you think the GI Bill won't cover for your PhD?
No, I've used all those benefits. That's so
Oh, so you
yeah,
exhausted all of those.
hmm
Okay.
yeah. But hopefully, at our job, there's an education center that helps like the doctors and the nurses with their continued education. So perhaps there's a program, criminal justice wise, that I can take advantage of.
I really do hope that. And
Hmm
did you make any close friends while you were in the service?
Oh yes, a lot, a lot. Uh, like I said, Sergeant Lucas, Captain Bolton. Um, Speaking of Captain Bolton, went to Belize 3 times to train the Belize Defense Force. Like I said, some stuff that I've done, I'm getting old. I forget I did it. So Captain Bolton, who I went to his house maybe last Friday, and me and him reminisced and had a couple of drinks with 2 other guys that were in the military with us.
So that's good. You still keep in contact.
Yeah.
And what is your longest friendship or friendship relationship with any of your soldiers? By how many years?
Wow. It has to be over 30 for some. So it it spans from 90 to now. So
So it's definitely the one of those situations where I would call it a brotherhood, but I know there were also
it's
women,
yeah,
so
but
pretty much like that.
yeah. So
And did you join a veterans organization?
yes, I'm in the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars. Hmm
Okay. And what did you do? I'm sorry. What did you go on to do as a career after the wars?
I'm a police officer with Veterans Affairs. I'm the police chief at the Alexandria VA. So I have about maybe 35 police officers, federal police officers that work under me with the VA.
Okay.
Hmm
And did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Somewhat, but I don't really do the political aspect or anything like that. Pretty much when you sign up, it's not about what are you fighting for or nothing like that. When it all boils down to it, it's for the person on your right and left. So, so I bring your soldiers home, keeping everybody safe, and make sure that you don't ever have to sit up here and write a letter home or anything saying that you lost somebody for something. So it's not about that. You don't focus on the aspect of what's going on in the news or who said what or who's in favor of what. At the end of the day, it don't matter.
Okay. And what kind of activities does your Veterans Association have?
We do fundraisers and stuff when it's like activities for schools. Sometimes we do community fundraisers. If there's somebody in need or something like that, we'll do that.
And do you attend any reunions?
We had a reunion maybe about a year and a half ago. It was a unit that deployed, the 39th MP Company, and it was like maybe, I want to say 30 or 40 of us that got together here in Alexandria, and we went to, I forget the name of the restaurant, Spirits, and, just reminisced and had a good old time, just see where everybody was at.
Just a nice little catch up get together?
Yeah.
And how did your service and experience affect your life?
Well, to a degree, it's taxing because you're not home. So if you're actually a career soldier and stuff is going on in the world, stuff is going on anywhere within your career, a lot of times your family, you're not there. So, but of course that comes with the territory. You kind of know that anyway. So
Is there anything you would like to add that we might not have covered during this interview?
nothing beyond. think it's one of the greatest institutions in the world. And if possible, I think everybody should do at least a year or something in the military just to instill additional discipline and morale and everything else. So, like in Germany, they actually do it. Everybody that's 18 has to go to the military. So, I think it's a great way to instill that discipline and the focus. So, while you're doing that, it'll help you focus exactly what your goals and what your aspirations are that you want for your future. So, that's other than that, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all that you have put into this wonderful interview, and just thank you for taking the time out your day. Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.